Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another VCHealth program today at the Venture Center. We're going to talk about stress, self-care, and the American vacation. I'm Annalise Armstrong. I'm a project manager here at the Venture Center, and I'm so happy to see those of you who have joined us. I want to start by thanking our sponsors who help make these programs possible. So thank you to Chenal Family Therapy, the Bridgeway, Wright Lindsay Jennings, Simmons Bank, Frost Accounting, and the Little Rock Regional Chamber. Again, thank you for your continued support. We've got quite a few upcoming programs in August. We'll start with August 17th. We'll actually be doing a workshop with Frost Accounting on tips for small businesses at noon. And then on August 20th, we'll do a lunch and learn on diversity, equity, and inclusion in Arkansas. On the 26th, we've got our FIS FinTech Accelerator Demo Day. That will be at 11 a.m. Central Time. And then we're going to end the month of August with another VC health program, and that'll be a virtual yoga session with one of our friends over at Chenal Family Therapy. Today, we'll be hearing from Ken Clark and Bruce Trimble and Margaret Kemp, again, on stress and the American vacation. So Bruce, I'm gonna go ahead and hand it off to you and Ken, and go ahead and introduce yourselves, and we'll get this party started.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see so many people interested in mental health again. As we get started, I want you to know that April McSpadden, a licensed therapist, is available from noon to 1:30 today to assist those who may be affected by these topics. She can be reached at 501-733-9789. There's no charge for this consultation, and after hours, you may call Chenal Family Therapy, the Bridgeway, or another provider. Well, today we will discuss the following: mental health, self-care and mental health, and self-care tips. Mental health is defined as a state of well-being in which people understand their abilities, solve everyday life problems, work well, and make a significant contribution to their communities. Social networking is a crucial element in protecting our mental health. Both the quantity and quality of social relationships impact mental health, health behavior, physical health, and mortality risk. Each year, Mental Health America publishes a report on the state of mental health in the US. Their work is driven by its commitment to promote mental health as a critical part of overall wellness. This year's report revealed the following. Even before COVID-19, the prevalence of mental illness among adults was increasing. There's still an unmet need for mental health treatment among adults and youth. The percentage of adults with a mental illness who are uninsured increased for the first time since the passage of the Affordable Care Act. Youth mental health is worsening. Suicidal ideation among adults is increasing. And in Arkansas, suicide is the 10th leading cause of death. But there's good news. People are talking about mental health more than ever before. And a term that was once found within clinical circles is now part of the American lexicon: self-care. If you think you've been hearing more about self-care now, you're right. According to Google Trends, the number of searches for self-care has more than doubled since 2015. Just this week, we saw US Olympian Simone Biles withdraw from gymnastics competition in order to focus on her self-care. Self-care is important to maintaining a healthy relationship with yourself. It means doing things to take care of our minds, bodies, and souls by engaging in activities that promote well-being and reduce stress. Doing so enhances our ability to live fully, vibrantly, and effectively. The practice of self-care also reminds both you and others that your needs are valid and a priority. Ideally, we engage in regular self-care in which we do the things that make us feel taken care of mentally, physically, and emotionally. But this doesn't always happen. And we may need to stop and take the time to remind ourselves that we are important too. Sometimes our feelings become too much, and we need to distract ourselves until we are better able to cope. We can also strategically change how we are feeling when things become too overwhelming. Here's some examples of self-care. You can see things there like cleaning, not for some, but maybe for a few, cooking, exercise. Activities are a great way for us to distract ourselves from our current emotions until we are better able to cope. When our level of stress is too high, we may not be able to effectively handle a situation and need ways to bring our emotional state down. Some suggestions may seem similar to self-care, but distraction activities serve a different purpose. One person's self-care activity is another's distraction technique. So here are some of the self-care things that I engage in. I love music, whether it's listening to it, playing it. I play both drums and guitar, reading about it. I love to cook, and I love creative writing. Well, here are some examples of distraction activities. You might want to call a friend or a family member unless that person is causing you distress. Doing something else, volunteering for an organization can be very worthwhile. Travel, trying something new, watching a movie or television show. But check to see if the situation warrants the response you're having. Examine the facts. While our emotions are always valid, they are not always justified. Look to see if your emotional response matches the circumstances. Examine what you're doing is either helping or hurting your situation. If it's making things worse, do the opposite of whatever it is you feel like doing. Commit to it. If you want to stay home and isolate, force yourself to go out where the people are. If you're angry and want to yell, try avoiding the person who your anger is directed towards. Once again, thank you for your time today. At this time, it's my pleasure to hand it off to my friend and colleague, Ken Clark.
Hey, everybody, I'm Ken Clark. For those of you that don't know me, I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also the CEO of Chenal Family Therapy. We are one of the fastest growing mental health practices, but also one of the fastest growing businesses in the United States. This will be our 4th year on the Inc. 5000 list. So as the founder and CEO, I've got some experience with being a workaholic, not doing self-care great, doing it better at seasons and all that kind of stuff. So want to talk to you today about vacations in particular and the entrepreneurial role. And I want to start with the image of Clark W. Griswold in your head. If you've never seen National Lampoon's Vacation, you need to go see National Lampoon's Vacation. It's an absolute classic in the comedy realm. But part of that movie, right, is this dad who desperately wants this vacation to go so well for his family, right? He's got it all planned out. We're going to do this. We're going to stop and see the biggest ball of mud. And then we're going to go see this and that, and very, very typical parent sometimes with how we idealize vacations. But then, of course, throughout the vacation, he gets more and more angry, frustrated. The family doesn't appreciate it. Stuff doesn't go as planned. That all culminates in the very famous profanity-laden scene where he just tears his family a new one and kind of has a meltdown. That is funny because we all know it, because it happens a lot, because we've been that person or are married to that person or were raised by that person. But these vacations that are supposed to be self-care, it is often a fool's errand. And we're going to talk about why today and some things to do perhaps instead. And part of that, I just want us to think about it practically, right? That the typical American vacation is the result of somebody working themselves to the point of exhaustion 51 weeks out of the year, being disconnected from family, friends, and then taking time off from work, trying to jam all their belongings into a suitcase, get a family or whatever through an airport, and then you all jam into a hotel room that is a third of the size of where you live, and everybody's unhappy, and somebody left their charger at home, and they all just wish they were back at home, and you're sitting there paying for it all, and it just is the opposite of self-care. So we would argue that for a lot of Americans, the westernized vacation, the annual vacation, summer vacation, is often holds a lot of hope, but very rarely delivers. So I'm going to talk you through what we call 4-3-2-1. It's a slightly different approach towards self-care and how you get some of those key elements out of a vacation, but get them throughout the year. You can still do the annual vacation, but I guarantee if you do this 4-3-2-1 I'm about to tell you about, the annual vacation will be a lot more enjoyable, worthwhile. And these apply to whether or not it's you all by yourself in your world trying to do self-care, or it's you and a significant other, or you and kids or extended family. So the 4 in 4-3-2-1 is we strongly recommend that people take a 1 to 2 day vacation once a quarter. So that would be 4 times a year, right? That once a quarter you sneak off to Memphis or Eureka Springs, or you just go hide at the Courtyard Marriott in the center of Little Rock and not tell anybody where you are and have a staycation and eat some pizza on a hotel room bed that you don't have to make the next day. But those evenly spaced out small vacations give our brains and our relationships and our neurological system a chance to reset more than once a year. They can be very cheap. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Heck, you can go stay at somebody's lake house when they're not there. But we know that people that do that end up being a lot healthier and have a healthier rhythm. They don't get as burnout. Part of the reason is no matter where you are in the year, right, you're sandwiched somewhere between a good recent memory and something you're looking forward to in the next 1 to 2 months, right? So if it's February and my wife and I snuck off to Memphis in January and we're going to go up see our kid in Fayetteville in March, right? We're kind of bookended between those things, and that good memory, hopefully, of the last short vacation and that thing that we're looking forward to kind of elevates our mood on both ends. So we think that really works well for individuals and families. Again, you don't have to get on a plane. You don't have to spend a bunch of money. Little Rock is uniquely positioned in the country to be a half a day to a day's drive from a lot of fun stuff, right? You can be in Dallas, in Memphis, in Nashville, in Tulsa, in Chicago or St. Louis. I mean, you can map out 10 to 15 cities that you've never been to that are just a car drive away if you live in Central Arkansas. So that's number one. We would convince you or try and convince you to come up with 4 of those a year that allow you to get out and about and just kind of reboot. I always tell people, asterisk on this, they cannot be work-related events. They cannot be, I've got to go do CEUs in Memphis, so we'll just call it a weekend. It can't be, I'm going to go help my father-in-law, who I can barely deal with, move furniture all weekend. Those aren't vacations. Those are our service projects or work or whatever. But true vacation means that if you so choose, when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to get out of bed. If you want to not shower all weekend, that's on you, right? So that's the 4. The 3 is 3 learning experiences evenly spaced out through the year. Ideally, kind of dropped in between those 4 vacations, right? Now, what do we mean by learning experience? We mean where you go and ingest new information, new experiences, new something that is meant to help you grow, learn, acquire a hobby, whatever, right? We know we need this. We know that if we're not developing as people, we become stagnant, right? If I'm the same guy that my wife married 25 years ago, she should be bored out of her mind, right? Like that's watching your favorite show on repeat every day. After a while, it gets kind of old, right? And that's true for us as people. If we're not evolving, there's nothing to be curious about for us or for other people when it comes to us. So we want you to do these 3 learning experiences. They could be anything from taking a sushi making class at Pulaski Tech to, I've never hiked, Pinnacle Mountain. And so I'm going to go out there and we're going to go to the nature center and learn about Pinnacle Mountain and then go hike it. But something where you're deliberately ingesting new information. In the middle of summer, all my favorite learning experiences are indoors. A learning experience for my wife and I a few years ago when budgets were tight and temperatures were high was Mad Men. We had never watched Mad Men as a couple. We felt like a cultural failure because everybody referenced Mad Men. So we watched Mad Men together, and we got 12 episodes in and learned that neither one of us like Mad Men, right? The clothes are great. The furniture was great. Couldn't follow the storyline, right? That's a learning experience. And we shared it and we grew and we knew something more about us than when we began that. Learning experiences could be books, webinars, these different things. But 3 deliberate learning experiences evenly spaced throughout the year, right? So we've got 4 getaways, even if they're small, 3 learning experiences. The 2 stands for 2 times of out of the house fun a month, right? If we're talking about couples, this might be date nights. If we're talking about families, this might be family day. If we're talking about you as a single person, this might be happy hours or whatever you attend. But we think that people need to create a routine of getting out of their routine, getting out of their space and where they live and what they do at least twice a month. We advocate heavily against the every week date night or family night or whatever. Like, if you can make it happen, that's great, but it's an easy thing to get out of the habit of and then feel like you're failing and then give up on, right? Some of the quickest people to not use their gym membership are the people who sign up and then say, I'm going to go every day. It's not realistic. When you don't do it, you kind of mentally give up on it. So it's 2 times of fun outside the house. If you're in a partnership or a couple or a family, let people take turns planning it, right? So it's not always on you. And so you don't end up with what we call the El Portón moment in our house. For those of you that don't know El Portón, it's a great local Mexican restaurant. But if my wife and I do not plan where we are going for our date nights, we get in the car and one of us says, where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. How about El Portón? Yeah, that's fine. And we always end up at the same place, eating the same thing. And it's Groundhog's Day with Mexican food. So take turns planning it, take the burden off somebody else. Side note, as a marriage and family therapist and a dad who had little kids myself, one of the great resources in the Arkansas community is some of these family magazines that are out there, Little Rock Family Magazine, things like that. In the back of those magazines, they have calendars of things going on around town for families. They also have a great list of all the restaurants that have kids eat free nights, which as a parent, you come to love. And there's actually multiple restaurants every night of the week. So if you really play it right, you can feed your kids for free every night of the week. But that's a great place to look. Side note, husbands, dads, fathers, one of the biggest complaints I hear from moms in therapy, wives in therapy, is I hate having to be the one who always rallies the family, plans events, things like that. If you're that spouse who is always getting dragged out of the house on a Saturday, go get that magazine, circle a couple things, take charge of it. You're going to be a hit within your household, right? It's an easy way to have an easy win. So 4 evenly spaced getaways, 3 learning experiences, 2 times of fun outside the house and outside your routine. And then the one is the hardest. I kid you not, all my time of doing this, the one is the hardest. And the one is 1 point of connection, right? If you're single, it's with yourself. If you're a couple or a family, it's with each other. 1 point of connection every day for 15 minutes, right? That is not what we call maintenance issues. Not should we refinance the house? Not what are we going to do about your mom when she comes for Thanksgiving? Where's she going to sleep? It's how about them Razorbacks? Or can you believe how old our sweet little doggy has gotten? I mean, it's chit chat. It's the minutia. It's the stuff that doesn't matter, but it's also the stuff of human connection. And it's where we discover these funny moments that are really organic. If it's just you, if you're a single person or you need that time for yourself, then it's connection with self. It's sitting down with a journal or your regular time of reading the newspaper or something to slow you down and pull you away from your phone. Zoning out on your phone for 15 minutes is not self-care. That's stimulation. It doesn't turn things off. You don't grow or develop. I'll hold up mine right now. One of my favorites. There is a journal out there called Evo. You can go find them online. They're about $40 a quarter. So not the cheapest, but they're great. You take an online assessment and they actually match. There's 4 different journal layouts. They match it to your personality type. And it's got everything from gratitude to how much weight am I going to lose in the next month to what do I want to happen to my finances. So great way to spend 15 minutes a day by yourself if you need something like that. So there you go. That's an alternative to the National Lampoon's Vacation catastrophe that most of us embark on. Again, if you're going to do that, that's great. This 4-3-2-1 will make that an amazing vacation, because now you're operating from this deep reservoir of connection and self-care instead of placing all your money on one horse and hoping it turns out well. So 4 evenly spaced getaways, 3 shared learning experiences, 2 times of fun outside the house and outside your routine, and 1 point of contact with self, your soul, or your soulmate, or the people that you care deeply about, your kids, things like that, on a daily basis. And that is a spectacular routine. Side note, we've added all that up. We're talking about a few hundred hours a year max. And people that do that, their mental health is off the chart compared to folks that don't do any of that. Just kind of like the folks that walk 2 miles every day, slow pace, they live longer, period, right? If you do this stuff, this 4-3-2-1, or you come up with your own, as long as you apply it in a routine manner over time, your mental health's gonna see a dramatic improvement. So with that, I'm gonna bow out. I'm gonna turn it over to the amazing Margaret, and she's gonna talk a little more about this. Thank you, as always, for having me and letting me contribute.
Okay, can you hear me now? Thank you. Ken, that was great. I love that. You should have my topic now. I mean, that was wonderful to kind of organize that, because we're back to where we started 16 months ago in travel. So it's quite frustrating to us, because we thought surely we could get this right, get a shot, wear a mask, do whatever you needed to do, but no, we're back in it. So today I'm here to talk about kind of within Arkansas and maybe a few hours just outside the state, because with the governor declaring an emergency for us, we've been impacted with people coming in to do some work saying we can't come to Arkansas or Florida anymore because you're off the chart with numbers. So, but for Arkansans, what we can do, as we desperately need, because mental health is, golly, we haven't traveled in a year and a half, and we're anxious to get on a plane and go somewhere. So anyway, it's crazy. So we're thinking, in Arkansas, we have the only diamond mine in the country, besides South Africa, but it's here, and we've had clients go and have fun with kids and family. You can run around, you have space away from people. So that was one thing. We have one of the oldest national parks in the country, which is Hot Springs National Park. Now, Hot Springs is kind of a bed of activity because it also has Great Lakes and hiking trails and such. But again, it's all fairly easy to go to. Maybe one of our favorite destinations within the state is Northwest Arkansas, and of course, the Crystal Bridges. What they're doing up there and expanding, and the art and the interactions that they have in the evenings are incredible. They've got in the fall, because I guess we're getting ready to go back to school. And so parents, getting your children ready and what that's going to look like again, virtually or not, or mask or not, or all of that kind of stuff, is quite different. So with it being so hot outside, fall foliage is going to be great. We've had enough rain. Hopefully Mother Nature will be kind to us and have wonderful colored leaves. And so Fayetteville in Northwest Arkansas is wonderful. They have a Selena Forever exhibit that starts September 4th. So that should be appealing to a lot of people. But even if that's not, there are tons of other things within the museum. The Frank Lloyd Wright House is incredible. The grounds are incredible, walking around in the hiking trails. And I know the other Walton families are doing the bicycle treks and things like that. So it's a great family. One of our favorite hotel There is the 21C. It's very kind of eclectic and right at the back door of the trail going into the grounds of the Crystal Bridges. So that would be fun. Eureka Springs, is still quite a few options there with cabins and little lodging, and one of the oldest cities here, the Crescent Hotel, is well known there. They do also have the Faye Jones Thorn Crown Chapel that we had people come in from out of the state that were going to be here for a week, and they kind of toured all of those things. Nothing like an outsider to come in and say how great your state is with what it all has to offer. The Mildred B. Cooper, I think it is, on the other Faye Jones, would be an option. Also, the Johnny Cash in Diaz, Arkansas, his boyhood home is open, much like Clinton's home in Hot Springs and such, again, with the national parks there and the lakes. Mount Magazine, I don't know if y'all have been there. It's a wonderful facility, fairly new in the last 10 years, a great presence. We've sent a lot of people there just wanting to stay within the state. But if I can throw in, because we like to send people outside the state, Nashville is kind of the hopping spot. Now with the bridge opening next week sometime, the traffic should be a lot easier to get there. It's a 5-hour drive. The downtown area, the Thompson Hotel, but my gosh, you've got the Opryland, the Ryman Theater, Country Music Hall of Fame. Johnny Cash has a museum there for his history. St. Louis, one of my assistants and her husband went to St. Louis, obviously for a ball game, but they ended up, there's a couple of wonderful museums. You've got the Arch there as well. Golly, let's see on my list, how could we not forget Destin? Of course, it's a little bit longer drive, but I'm telling you, it has some of the best beaches in the world, that white sugar beach. But again, you're in Florida, which is kind of next to Arkansas with the pandemic, so be careful. But still, we booked tons of people there. Branson, Missouri, Big Cedar Lodge is a favorite of ours because there is so much to do. They have these 1-bedroom glamping tents, kind of trailers that they put around big campfires that, maybe a little tight even for a couple, but I mean, people have loved going up to Branson and Big Cedar Lodge. They've got, there was something in September 18th to the 31st, they have a Big Cedar Lodge Cedar Fest, which is, you've got Halloween, fall foliage, pumpkin carving, all kinds of things again to do, and an incredible lake and different activities. Let's see, New Orleans is a nice drive going through old Mississippi as well, and some of the mansions along the way. But again, all of these cities are desperate for travel and people coming to visit. Lodging is a little bit tricky these days in the fact that with the stimulus checks and people begging for people to come to work, housekeeping in hotels have changed quite a bit because it's non-existent. When you check into a hotel, they will give you towels to have those delivered. You can request that your room be changed as well for linens and cleaned and stuff. But other than that, it's difficult to enjoy what we used to with hotel stays because you had staff galore and service was great. So they're struggling, and it doesn't matter what level of a hotel. So just be prepared. Just like with restaurants, we are finding even traveling abroad that it's reduction. We had clients in Anchorage, Alaska, and going out to eat, they ended up bussing tables for themselves and all the people that went to eat there because of the fact it was just the cook and the maitre d' and one server. So, and it kind of makes you appreciate what we had before, but enjoy also just gear down. Everybody's trying to do the best they can and just relax and enjoy the time that you have together. I guess, you know, we can't forget about Memphis and Graceland and Beale Street. And then they have the National Civil Rights Museum there because of Martin Luther King. So it's fantastic. And again, zoos. Their zoo is wonderful for kids and all, even though, again, we're getting ready to go to school. And I guess one of the other properties that or cities that people have flown to quite a bit is Austin, Texas, because it is very, very popular with Sixth Avenue and music and all of that venue. But it's also a fantastic city in the hill country to get outside of Austin. There are all kinds of hotel options there. Maybe Texas is doing a little bit better than we are with managing, having people service in restaurants and hotels. But we've sent a lot of people to Austin in the last really 3 weeks. What else? Let me just look at my notes real quick. I don't think, other than that, whatever else could be possible. It's just to be careful. Mask is mandate. I myself flew to Houston. They have incredible museums. I haven't seen some of my family in a year and a half. Again, we wore masks. Had restaurants were cut back. They have these plastic vinyl shields set up, so you really kind of feel safe. The museums are incredible, all kinds, much larger, obviously, but so you could kind of spread out, but maybe they're doing a little bit better. So again, we're kind of it's still hard to believe that we've gone backwards, but I know from our Kansans that we can get this together and get back on track again with the mask and makes a difference. The hospitality industry desperately needs people to move around and get back inside the cruise lines, river cruises. Even we've sold a lot of the new river cruises in the West through Oregon and all, even though they're kind of having fires out there now. But I mean, everything's kind of still upside down. So safe travels. There's plenty of things to do in Arkansas and in our borders. And we'd love to help you. If you have any questions, just let us know.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope that was enough.
Oh, yes, plenty.
Good.
I'm going to go ahead and open it up for Q&A. So give me just a second.
Okay.
Guess. Ken, where's your favorite place to go?
Right now I'm pretty hooked on Fayetteville. We just moved a son into a townhome up there. I've been up there 2 or 3 times in the last 2 or 3 months, helping him learn how to adult. And it is, I've always been there on a mission, right? Like you're there to do something, you're there to see a game, and have, I am in love with my weekends of just bumming around in Fayetteville, discovering hole in the wall eateries. And so that's short term. I also am one of my recent favorite hotel discoveries is a hotel called the Moxie, which is a Marriott brand hotel in Memphis. You walk in and literally the check-in desk is also the bar. And they get you a beverage while you're checking in, and they've got free pinball machines and video games in the lobby. Just super cool, funky vibes. So I've really enjoyed sneaking over there as well.
Bruce, how about you?
I think you're on mute, Bruce.
I'm always down for a concert. I've been concert deprived now for quite some time, but I've got tickets. So I've got a tip part. I went to Dallas a couple of weeks back, and there was this event called produced by a group called Candlelight, and it was just an orchestral quartet, and they played music ranging from Bach to the Beatles, and had some really good insights about how there's correlations between those genres. So for me, it's anything musical, but I've also got a trip coming up to, well, at least I think I do. We'll see what happens in Colorado here soon. So, yeah.
Very nice. Well, Ken, I think there's a question for you. What if you can't shut off work while you are on vacation?
You.
Ken, you're on mute.
I think the goal is to contain it. For my marriage, what that looks like, we were just out in Durham, North Carolina, which is another really cool town. Fayetteville, I think, was number 4 best place to live or something like that, or 9, and Durham was number 4 or number 1. So Durham, North Carolina, really cool. But my wife takes advantage of nobody requiring anything from her and sleeps in on vacation. So one of my commitments is I get up and knock work out of the way, usually at a small cafe, things like that, bring back breakfast in bed. So for me, it's about containing it. And then once I'm done with it for the day, putting the phone on airplane mode and or putting the phone down, because that is the connection now, is through the phone. And so creating distance between you and the phone, even for part of the day, is a big part of the answer, I think.
Thank you. Okay, here's another one. Any tips on how to know whether you're doing authentic self-care or distraction? Like Bruce spoke about, some people's self-care can be another person's distraction in an unhealthy way.
Bruce?
Well, yeah, I'll take that. I mean, it's like, one of the things on the list was cleaning. And for me, if I'm practicing self-care, cleaning is not on my list, nowhere near it. That's a function that I have to take care of as part of the daily routine. So, but I do know people who use that because it gives them an opportunity to clear their mind of whatever is on their mind and focus on a task at hand. For me, one of the reasons I think I like cooking so much, in terms of what I do, it's about strategic planning. And when you put a plan together, you don't always see the you don't see the end results at the end of a day. You may see them at the end of a month or a quarter or a period. But when I cook, it's not only a creative outlet, but it gives me to put a plan together from point A to point C and actually put that on the table. So I think it's worth being mindful about what it is you're doing. If it's adding to your stress, that's not one of your distractors.
Yeah, part of the way I agree with everything Bruce said there. I would give you another lens to analyze it through as well. Generally, distractions are going to feel like we wasted time in hindsight. We're usually going to be chiding ourselves about needing to get back to reality. Good self-care doesn't feel like a waste of a day, right? Watching Netflix all day and not doing anything done, that might be self-care for people. But at the end of that, if you're walking through your house going, I didn't get crap done today, right? Then it probably wasn't self-care. It was probably distraction. If you're walking through the house saying, I need to do that more, right? Then it's probably self-care. So probably the dialogue you have with yourself at the end of it, it explains a lot of whether it was authentic self-care or distraction.
Margaret, we've got a question for you.
Okay.
What's the best piece of advice you can give a traveler during today's pandemic?
Well, it's hard. We've got so much pressure and stress, even if you were to fly or drive and planning. It's really to allow yourself just to gear down and not be so controlled, because we can't really control a lot except your own personal space and the pre-planning a little bit is involved because you need to know where you're going to go or what time reservations, but then really just kind of try to flow. You can't control it. I know getting to an airport now, people are, I mean, they're crowded and tons of people are traveling. But of course, once you get through security, you know, kind of stand back, sit across from your gate or away from a crowd, and just, you know, because the minute we have found with our clients that once they've gotten to their destination, because it's been so long and it's taken that, it's a travel day to there and from there. So you have to be prepared, but just allow yourself enough time. Don't make it too close to schedules. But once you're there and relax and can have space, getting away has been fantastic, out of your norm, and you get out of the house wherever, or, you know, just, it gives you space. I mean, we need it desperately.
I'd like to add to that if I could. One of the things that I did a couple of years ago is I enrolled in the TSA pre-check.
Yeah.
And if you haven't done that, that reduces a lot of stress. It gives you more time. Like, for example, like I said, I went to Denver a couple months back, and having that TSA free, I was surprised by the number of people in the Little Rock line who didn't have it. There was only 2 TSA free in front of me, and it gives you the opportunity to move ahead of the line and get your bag searched quicker. You don't have to take off your shoes or your belt. And for me, that was a stress reducer.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point.
Yeah, my version of that is the airline clubs, by the way. We just flew through Charlotte, which is the worst airport I've ever been through. Like, that's the most I've walked in an airport in my life.
Yeah.
And like, it's one of the few ones where you start on the tarmac. We actually got off on the runway and walked into the terminal. But I'll tell you, when we ducked into that Admirals Club, it was like a scene out of the movie. I felt like we went from, you know, near mob environment to, you know, hello and welcome, you know, and, you know, free drinks and free food and no line. I mean, holy cow. So, and then we, you know, sometimes you have to have that specific club membership. There's some credit cards that do that.
Yeah.
We were just flying through Atlanta. There's one that you can walk in on your own out of Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I think for my wife and I, it was like they were having a special. It was $40 for both of us to go in. They fed us breakfast, free drinks, charging stations, uncrowded bathrooms, and we killed 3 hours in there, and it was spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got time for maybe 2 more questions. So whoever wants to answer this, feel free. How should entrepreneurs best plan around their employees' vacations? With lean teams, sometimes it is hard for some entrepreneurs to put boundaries around that.
Well, I know for me, it's about I try to not do full week vacations. So me sneak it out on a Thursday afternoon and turning it into a 3 or 4 day is far more practical for me than one of us being gone for the whole week. We don't dictate that for our employees, but we also encourage it. Take smaller vacations more often, you know, extend your weekends. So for us, that's the big piece instead of that week vacation.
Yeah, I would agree. From our research with Four Seasons and Hyatt, that they are finding that the 3-day weekend is, you know, leaving on a Friday, come back on a Sunday, doesn't exist anymore. It's a Wednesday or Thursday. So having that is great for mental health, to get away. And I mean, we take our work with us also as well, with laptops always connected on cell phones and such. But yeah, that extended time is here to stay.
Okay, are there any final thoughts you all want to share with the audience?
I think it was Mark Twain, but whenever I can't think of the who said it, I attribute it to Mark Twain. So, but the quote is something like, "Travel is the antidote to bias." I would encourage everybody that travel is not only good for self-care, but worldview. And the more aligned we are with the world around us, and the less in our bubble, probably the healthier we are as well. So don't just travel for you, travel for everybody.
Amen.
I have one more.
Okay.
And that is, the best stories told are within your passport.
Wonderful. That's great. I need to use that. What we're finding in our trends of we are already, I mean, Christmas is getting booked now. People are really looking forward because so many people are traveling and want to travel and realize the benefits of traveling. So it's amazing. So anyway, get ahead of the game, and then that way you can not be frustrated when something's not available.
Great. Well, thank you to all three of you for joining us today. We've got Ken Clark from Chenal Family Therapy, Bruce Trimble from The Bridgeway, and Margaret Kemp from Poe Travel. Again, I want to thank our sponsors, The Bridgeway, Chenal Family Therapy, Frost Accounting, Wright Lindsay Jennings, Simmons Bank, and the Little Rock Chamber. Again, thank you so much for the support. Without it, programs like today's would not happen. Our next event is going to be August 17th, a workshop with Frost Accounting on tips for small businesses. Feel free to mark your calendars and join us then. But until then, we'll see you next time.
Thank you,
everybody.